it's okay to be professional about it and like send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that, I think.
She was supposed to be the final piece of the puzzle. A Hall of Famer, a seasoned vet, and the one voice strong enough to guide Caitlin Clark through a rookie storm. But just 9 games in, DeWanna Bonner vanished. No warning, no farewell, and no explanation. What happened next turned a promising season into a storm of rumors, locker room silence, and fan betrayal.
Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some you type shit.
Then Sophie Cunningham grabbed the mic, and everything changed. This isn't just a story about poor stats or aging legs. It's about ghosting a franchise, the drama no one saw coming, and a podcast episode that cracked the lid off one of the WNBA's most bizarre midseason exits. From unspoken resentment to public booing. This is how Dana Bonner's silent walkout became the loudest controversy of Indiana's season, and why her former teammates may never forgive her. Let's break it down.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like, she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
DeWanna Bonner signed with the Indiana Fever. It felt like a dream move. A future Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star, and championship veteran. This wasn't just any off-season pickup. It was a statement. Indiana wasn't just building for the future. They were going all in on winning now. And with Caitlin Clark lighting up headlines, Bonner's arrival was seen as the stabilizing force the young team desperately needed. Even Sophie Cunningham, who had played with Bonner back in Phoenix, couldn't hide her excitement. She's a hell of a basketball player who can score from anywhere, Sophie said. Fever fans were already buzzing about Clark.
The location, for one, my kids are literally right up the road, and I've spent a lot of time away from them, so that and the core that they have here now.
But the addition of a veteran leader brought legitimacy to their playoff hopes. Bonner had the kind of voice that commands a locker room. She was expected to elevate not just Clark, but the entire culture. In her first press conference, Bonner played it perfectly. She praised the team's energy, talked about mentoring younger players, and said being close to her kids was a major draw. It all sounded right. It all felt right. The front office looked brilliant. The fan base was fired up. And Caitlin Clark? She said it best. DB has the strongest voice in our locker room.
I'm sure there were plenty of teams going for your services, DeWanna, so why was this the right opportunity for you?
I just feel like it was
The puzzle pieces were clicking into place, or so it seemed. Reality came fast, and it hit hard. In just 9 games with the Fever, Bonner averaged a disappointing 7.1 points per game. That's less than half of her previous season's output. Her shooting was off, her rebounding low, and her presence practically invisible. She didn't look like the dynamic scorer Indiana thought they had signed. She looked tired, disengaged, slower than usual. Even casual fans could see something was off. But the numbers were just the start of the unraveling.
Her minutes had significantly dropped from last year. Well, in turn, if her minutes dropped, a lot of her production numbers that she can see and the rest of the league can see also dropped with it.
Body language said more than the box score ever could. Bonner didn't hustle back on defense. She barely celebrated teammates' successes, and her effort looked half-hearted at best. This wasn't the passionate leader Clark was hyping just weeks ago. This was someone who didn't seem to want to be there. Then came the benching. Coach Stephanie White, who had every reason to make this pairing work, made a bold call. She benched Bonner. Think about that. Just weeks into the season, the team's supposed veteran anchor was being pulled from the starting lineup.
DeWanna Bonner. I wouldn't do anything differently. I think my journey is my journey. I'm going to accept that. It carried me to where I am now in Phoenix, and it happened that way for a reason. It didn't happen that way for a reason. You forced yourself out of it.
On paper, it was about performance. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere was changing fast. Whispers started surfacing, quiet at first, Then louder. Was Bonner unhappy with her role? Was she clashing with coaches? Or was she simply done? The locker room, once buzzing with optimism, now felt tense, confused, unsettled, and things were only going to get messier. Then, without warning, DeWanna Bonner disappeared. It started with a single game absence, quietly labeled personal reasons. At first, nobody panicked. Players miss games all the time. But then she missed another. And another. Weeks passed. There was no update, no public statement, no clarity from the team. Just silence.
You know, DB is somebody that, he's a Hall of Famer, like a legend. Not only a good basketball player, a great person, a great leader. The strongest voice in our locker room is.
Every press conference became a guessing game. Reporters asked. Coach Stephanie White dodged. Fans speculated. But the most telling sign came from the locker room. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Melissa Smith, they all started talking about Bonner in the past tense. The truth. Nobody knew what was happening. Not even the players. Behind closed doors, teammates were reportedly left in the dark. Some thought it was an injury. Others assumed it was family-related. But when Cunningham later revealed that Bonner never sent a single message to the group chat, no goodbye, no explanation, it painted a different picture entirely.
I don't understand why someone would take an interview and say that, when the reality is that all you did was took a whole bunch of money from a team.
Meanwhile, fans were fuming. Fever supporters had bought into the hype. They had jerseys, posters, hopes, and now their veteran leader had ghosted them mid-season. No context, no closure, just gone. Then came the whispers, not just about Bonner being done with Indiana, but about her plotting a return to Phoenix.
Bonner, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split ya. See ya.
And suddenly, those personal reasons weren't sounding so personal anymore. And then Sophie spoke. On an episode of her podcast, Show Me Something, Sophie Cunningham finally said what everyone had been thinking, but no one had dared to confirm. She didn't sugarcoat. She didn't dance around it. She called it exactly what it was, unprofessional. Sophie started with sympathy. She acknowledged that Bonner wasn't happy in Indiana, and that players deserve to be in environments that bring them joy, especially toward the end of their careers. But then came the dagger. If you're going to leave, she said, you have to expect getting booed, and you've got to be professional enough to at least text your teammates. Just a simple message. That's all Sophie asked for. A group chat note, a farewell text, something, anything. But Bonner gave them nothing.
Over here, she signed a max contract. She knew Phoenix didn't have the bread. She got 80 here and went and got the rest over there. I think it's trash.
She vanished without a word. And for Sophie, that was the line. This wasn't just a critique from a salty teammate. This was someone who had played with Bonner twice. First in Phoenix, then in Indiana. They'd shared locker rooms, flights, huddles. They weren't strangers, which is why Sophie's words hit so much harder. I still want her to be happy, she said. But there's a way to handle that. And she didn't. The fans had guessed. The media had speculated. But now, someone from inside the team was confirming what most suspected. Bonner didn't just leave, she ghosted. And for a team already struggling with identity, that silence spoke volumes. Just when it felt like the story couldn't get any messier, it did. On July 8th, it became official. DeWanna Bonner had signed with the Phoenix Mercury. Not after the season, not quietly, not with closure, but mid-season, while the Fever were still listing her absence as personal reasons. The moment the news dropped, everything clicked into place. She hadn't stepped away because of a crisis. She hadn't vanished because of a family emergency. Bonner simply didn't want to be in Indiana. And Phoenix. That was her escape plan all along. The reaction was instant. Fever fans felt used. She'd taken the money, the minutes, the marketing hype, and left. Indiana had invested in her experience, her voice, her leadership, and what they got was 9 games of disinterest, followed by silence, and then a headline from another team's press release. Worse, it wasn't just a new team. It was the old team. The team she'd played for before Indiana. The team where her fiancée, Alyssa Thomas, also played. Fans began asking, had this been the plan the entire time? There's no proof Bonner orchestrated her exit, but the timing was damning, and the optics, even worse. She left a young, rebuilding team mid-season and rejoined a loaded veteran squad already poised for the playoffs. To fans in Indiana, this wasn't just betrayal. It felt like a heist. She came in, said all the right things, cashed the check, and bounced. But the story wasn't over yet. Not even close. On July 30th, the basketball world got the showdown it didn't know it needed. Phoenix came to Indiana. Bonner came with them. And Fever fans were ready. From the moment she stepped onto the court, the crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse let her have it. Boos poured down with every dribble, every shot, every substitution. It wasn't just a welcome, it was a reckoning. Bonner's performance that night? 4 points. 1 of 4 shooting. 21 minutes of silence on the scoreboard and noise from the stands. It was as if the entire building had come together to send a single message. We saw what you did. And we haven't forgotten. Caitlin Clark, sidelined with a groin injury, sat on the bench watching it all unfold. And she was loving it. Clips of her jumping up, celebrating missed shots, and clapping for every defensive stop went viral. You didn't need a quote. Her reaction said it all. But it didn't stop there. Alyssa Thomas, Bonner's fiancée, made it worse. In a moment that poured gasoline on the fire, Thomas taunted the Fever crowd, shouting that Bonner had joined a real team. This, from the same person who once said she felt unsafe playing in Indiana. Now, she was mocking the very fans she'd accused of toxicity. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. The Fever bench stayed composed. Coach Stephanie White and Aaliyah Boston gave nothing but respectful, measured answers post-game. They focused on the win, 107-101. No jabs. No drama. Just class. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a win on paper. It was personal. It was a statement. And for Bonner, it was brutal. She didn't just get booed. She got beat. If Bonner's exit was supposed to break Indiana's momentum, the opposite happened. After the dust settled, something unexpected began to take shape. The Fever got better. The locker room, once filled with tension and confusion, seemed lighter, focused, re-energized. Players like Ari McDonald and Lexi Hull stepped up. Rookie Chloe BBY emerged as a surprise standout. And when Clark returned from injury, the chemistry clicked like never before. Suddenly, the narrative had shifted. The team that was supposed to crumble without its veteran leader was climbing the standings. They weren't just winning, they were doing it with confidence, unity, and grit. Analysts started saying it out loud. Maybe Bonner's departure was a blessing in disguise. Addition by subtraction. Without the weight of a disengaged star, the Fever leaned into their identity and found something stronger than hype. They found purpose. Meanwhile, Bonner struggled to regain her rhythm in Phoenix. Her numbers were modest, her minutes inconsistent, and the controversy still followed her everywhere. Even Mercury fans were split. Some welcomed her return, others questioned the cost. And league-wide, GMs and coaches were taking notes. Bonner's name still carried weight, but the way she exited Indiana had left a scar. No one forgot the silence. No one forgot the ghosting. And no one forgot how her former teammates bloomed in her absence. This wasn't just a story about one player leaving. It was about a team discovering who they really were, once the wrong voice left the room. So what does all of this mean? It's easy to reduce DeWanna Bonner's Indiana chapter to a cautionary tale. A max contract wasted, a locker room fractured, a veteran ghosting a young team mid-season. But this story is bigger than that. It's about culture, accountability, and the difference between showing up and cashing out. For every player chasing championships, there are choices. Do you lead when things get tough? Or do you vanish when the spotlight dims? Bonner had the resume, the voice, and the platform to shape a legacy in Indiana. Instead, she left without a word and let others clean up the mess. Sophie Cunningham didn't expose Bonner to start drama. She told the truth to give her teammates closure. Because silence leaves the wound. And when a team is trying to build something from the ground up, that kind of exit hits harder than any losing streak ever could. The Indiana Fever moved on. And in the process, they found something more powerful than hype. Chemistry, belief, and accountability. Whether or not they win a title in 2025, This chapter will define them. They chose loyalty over legacy, team over ego, culture over chaos. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think the boos were deserved? Did Bonner owe her teammates more than silence? Or was she just doing what was best for her career?